After assigning Ming Shirin to investigate the fish dragon village, Lu Zhou made his way to the South Pavilion. He was a bit puzzled. Since the fish dragon village is heavily guarded, how did Yi Tianxin investigate this matter when she left Jinting Mountain back then? I'll have to ask that rascal about this. Upon arrival, he saw her weakly kneeling on the ground. Seeing her master arrive, Yi Tianxin's face lit up. She mustered up some energy and softly called out, "Master." Lu Zhou looked at her indifferently. "You're not my disciple." Upon hearing this, Yi Tianxin's joy vanished instantly. "I have questions for you. You only need to answer them. When did you investigate the fish dragon village?" Yi Tianxin paused upon hearing this. "I thought that the master would give me a thorough scolding. I did not expect the master to be more curious about fish dragon village." In a whirlwind of emotions, she honestly answered, "On the 10th year after I left the evil sky pavilion." Lu Zhou continued to ask, "How did you access the local and palace's archives?" Some of the sisters in the derived Moon Palace were female guards in the palace. They're familiar with the rules of the palace and the internal layout. They helped me get my hands on the archives, but it took me 5 years. Yi Tianxin's dedication can be seen from the fact that she spent 5 years solely to gain access to the records in the archives, which is truly surprising. Perhaps, the annihilation of the fish dragon village is only a small matter in the eyes of the nobles in the palace. However, the few hundred villagers. As Yi Tianxin said this, she became emotional. Lu Zhou's tone remained unchanged. "Is that why you hate me?" Upon hearing her master's counter-question, Yi Tianxin's mind went blank, and a sense of regret emerged in her heart. Lu Zhou continued to probe. "Did the Yanyu Palace go to the Measure Heaven River before?" Yi Tianxin thought for a moment and answered, "Yanyu Palace did visit Measure Heaven River several times. The palace mentioned that there were many other tribes in the area, but the Yanyu Palace found no members from the other tribes throughout their years of investigations." From this sentence, it seems that Yi Tianxin is unaware that she is a Bai. However, in Lu Zhou's memories, the Bais did not appear to be a genuine tribe. They were a unique ethnicity among Great Yan's human race. Otherwise, the Bais would not dare to live around Measure Heaven River. Clearly, the palace was using the other tribes as a pretext and excuse. While Lu Zhou was pondering, Yi Tianxin suddenly knelt on the ground. "I'm willing to accept any punishment, no matter how severe it is. Please punish me, master." Lu Zhou shook his head. "There's no need to be impatient. I will naturally punish you for deceiving and denouncing me." However, the truth behind the Fish Dragon Village incident remains unsolved. Fan Shouwen might just be a pawn in this. If the culprit is me at the end of the investigation, what will you do? Yi Tianxin was dumbfounded upon hearing these words. At this point, she no longer knows who she can trust. Seeing her reaction, Lu Zhou waved his hand. "Lock her up in the South Pavilion. She's not allowed to leave." The two female cultivators from the Yanyu Palace helped Yi Tianxin up. After leaving the South Pavilion, Lu Zhou returned to the Evil Sky Pavilion. Soon it was the next day. He withdrew from his state of comprehending the heavenly writing. As the time he spent comprehending increased, the more the scroll's contents increase. However, it is still difficult to understand the heavenly scroll. Lu Zhou took a moment to rest, then decided to try his luck with the draw again. Ding! Spent 50 merit points on the lucky draw. Thank you for participating. Luck +1. Not giving up, he tried again. Still, it was just thanks for your patronage. Seeing this, he could only shake his head helplessly. Perhaps, I used up my luck trying to comprehend the heavenly scroll. I'll try again at another time. Ding! Ming Shirin has completed the Measure Heaven River's investigation, rewarded with 100 merit points. Compared to the others, Ming Shirin is the most reliable in carrying out missions. I should be receiving a letter from Ming Shirin soon about his investigation. Lu Zhou stroked his beard in satisfaction, and began waiting quietly. However, after waiting for 3 hours, there was no sign of any letter. The Evil Sky Pavilion had always relied on messenger birds to convey their messages. As these birds were known to be as swift as legendary mounts, there was no doubt that the letter would arrive within 3 hours. With this thought, he called Xia Yuaner in. "Send word to Jiao Naijian. Tell him to assist in the investigation about Fish Dragon Village from within the palace. Also, tell him he'll be rewarded with a nice sword if he discovers the truth." After Xia Yuaner completed the instruction, they saw Zhou Jifeng running into the main hall from outside. Coming up to them, he anxiously said, "Mr. Fourth injured." Xia Yuaner was somewhat surprised. What happened to Fourth's senior brother? Lu Zhou furrowed his brows, clearly puzzled. Ming Shirin was not injured when he went to relay the message to the Black Knights. If Ming Shirin got injured while investigating the Fish Dragon Village incident, things are clearly more complicated than they seem. "Where is he now?" Zhou Jifeng answered. "He's at the base of the mountain. Pan Zhong is bringing him here." Not long after, Pan Zhong arrived in the main hall, supporting a battered and bruised Ming Shirin. "Master, I'm glad I didn't let you down. I found some clues in the Measure Heaven River. Ming Shirin's appearance looked a bit like how he was after the battle with Jinjianghe in the Black Knights. Lu Zhou then instructed him to tell what he found. There are officers patrolling around the Measure Heaven River's Fish Dragon Village. This has been the case in the past decade. I snooped around the area during the night and made a huge discovery. They seem to be fishing out corpses from the river. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was taken aback. Putting aside the issue of the other tribes residing near Measure Heaven River, there was no need for those people to fish out their corpses from the river. Moreover, they had been doing this for a decade. Lu Zhou asked with a puzzled look, "What's the reason for fishing out the corpses?" Ming Shirin weakly responded, "I wanted to investigate further, but I accidentally triggered a strange trap and had to hurry back overnight. This disciple is useless." Lu Zhou slowly walked up to him. "Lift your head." Sure enough, he saw a witchcraft mark on Ming Shirin's forehead. Upon hearing Lu Zhou mention witchcraft, Pan Zhong immediately leaned in surprise. No wonder Mr. Fourth was affected. It's a witchcraft trap. There are indeed not many witchcraft cultivators in Great Yin. Who did this to Mr. Fourth? Ming Shirin shook his head to indicate he was okay, just felt a little tired. This witchcraft has only restricted 60% of my cultivation base. It's not that serious. However, Pan Zhong expressed a different opinion. It is indeed witchcraft. We must undo this quickly. Otherwise, it might spread until Mr. Fourth completely loses access to his cultivation base. At that point, it could become even more challenging to undo the witchcraft. Ming Shirin jumped at these words. "Pan Zhong, you better not be trying to scare me." Lu Zhou stroked his beard and motioned for him to continue. Pan Zhong then started to explain. "I'm not making this up. During my time learning the trade at Clarity Sect, I studied the records on witchcraft in the library. Witchcraft is divided into white witchcraft and black witchcraft. A cultivator will wander down the wrong path if they cultivate with malicious intentions. During that time, I was young and impulsive. My main focus was on rapidly advancing my cultivation base, so I had looked up witchcraft, but alas, everyone in the Clarity Sect guarded this secret tightly. Moreover, I couldn't find any seniors who had learned witchcraft and were willing to teach me." Zhou Jifeng asked out of curiosity, "Is that why you chose the 3-yin style?" Pan Zhong ambiguously nodded. "The Clarity Sect's elder only told me that I'm suited for the 3-yin style, but he didn't tell me that I had to pair it with the 6-yang technique. I only learned about the balance between yin and yang after I met Pavilion Master." Speaking of witchcraft, its restrictions are similar to cultivation seals. They would slowly corrode a cultivator's meridians and block them. In fact, the Clarity Sect's seal block technique is created based on a witchcraft technique as well. In any case, the sooner we undo the witchcraft, the better it is for Mr. Fourth. In Mr. Fifth's case, her cultivation base has been completely sealed. The spellcaster must have cast the seal from a close distance. That's why it took effect immediately. For this reason, the outcome will be the same regardless of when we undo the witchcraft. Zhou Jifeng hurriedly asked, "Since you know so much about witchcraft, do you happen to know any ways we can break the spell?" Pan Zhong nodded and began to answer. "I remember reading about a method to undo the spell, which is also considered the most trusted and reliable. This method requires the spellcaster themselves to undo the spell. The second method involves cultivating Zen according to Buddhism or practicing Taoist methods. In this approach, once the victim's cultivation base surpasses that of the spellcaster, they would have the ability to undo the spell. However, this method is impossible. After all, how can one continue to cultivate if one's cultivation base is sealed? So, what you mean is that there's nothing we can do to remove the spell on Mr. Fourth?" Pan Zhong shook his head to indicate, "I'm afraid that the Pavilion Master is the only one capable of undoing it. The third method is to have a cultivator who's much more powerful than the spellcaster forcibly break the spell. Otherwise, the conflict between witchcraft and muster energy would cause the cultivator's meridians to break, leading to their implosion and eventual death. The Pavilion Master is the only one who can do this." Upon hearing this, everyone turned to look at Lu Zhou. Lu Zhou was momentarily speechless. "What should I do?" Ming Shirin immediately knelt down. "Please undo the restriction on me, Master." Lu Zhou did not respond. Instead, he was rapidly considering his options in his mind. Since there are witchcraft traps around the Measure Heaven River's Fish Dragon Village, I could not simply send people from the Evil Sky Pavilion there. After all, if someone like Ming Shirin fell prey to it, there is no doubt that others would be even more susceptible to falling into the trap. It seems like I have no choice but to personally investigate the Fish Dragon Village. As for undoing the witchcraft, I'm stumped. I have no solution for this. After all, I cannot possibly tell these people that my cultivation base is only in the Brahman Sea realm. Seeing that the master remained silent, Duan Mushing quickly began to plead. "Master, although junior brother frequently makes mistakes, he's been doing a good job lately. Please save him, Master." The others in the hall also began to plead. Lu Zhou found himself in a tough spot. If this were in the past, Ji Tiandao would most likely have flown into a great rage and kicked all of them out. However, it is undeniable that Ming Shirin had been doing a good job lately. Although Ming Shirin's loyalty is not as stable as Duan Mushing or Little Yuaner, he is dependable when it comes to completing missions. All Ming Shirin needs is a little discipline. Thinking of this, he turned and walked towards the secret chamber, gesturing for Ming Shirin to follow. Seeing this, everyone felt a bit more at ease. Since Master is dealing with the witchcraft spell, there shouldn't be any problem. The Pavilion Master possesses a profound cultivation base. This minor spell is nothing to him. Duan Mushing walked up to Pan Zhong and Zhou Jifeng. Since Old Fourth is affected by witchcraft, both of you will do. Hearing this, the two had a bad feeling and quickly asked what he meant. Duan Mushing glanced at them. Spar with me. In the secret chamber of the Evil Sky Pavilion, Ming Shirin followed his master's steps. This was his first time here. Before, he didn't even have the qualification to approach it. Although everyone thought that the master kept all the good stuff in the secret chamber, it was sealed tight. The master would usually cultivate inside, leaving no opportunity to enter. The table was covered with various secret scriptures, and all kinds of weapons were scattered around the shelves and corners. Just as he was excitingly observing everything, Lu Zhou's voice suddenly reached his ears. Sit down. Ming Shirin obediently followed the order and took off his clothes. Lu Zhou moved behind him and began to work. My cultivation base is only in the Brahman C8 Meridians realm. However, it's not the true Brahman C8 Meridians realm. My avatar is only the mighty 4 quadrants. There should be no problem for me to examine his body, but it would be almost impossible for me to break the spell. He raised his palm and applied it to the other's back, and waves of muster energy began to probe. Ming Shirin couldn't help but exclaim, Master's cultivation base is truly profound. He's capable of suppressing his nascent divinity tribulation realm's muster energy to such a gentle level. However, when my muster energy came in contact with the witchcraft spell, I felt a retaliation. Lu Zhou cautiously tried to avoid the witchcraft spell and check the other meridians. However, as soon as I tried to do that, the witchcraft spell seemed to gain a will of its own and suddenly attacked. Lu Zhou huffed coldly. Preposterous. In an instant, the state of comprehending heavenly writing spontaneously emerged. A faint blue light rippled out, instantly repelling the witchcraft. Not only that, the blue light then entered Ming Shirin's body, suddenly shattering the eerie witchcraft power. Ming Shirin was knocked back by the impact, but after feeling the muster energy flow freely inside him, he was overjoyed. Meanwhile, in a dark room in Great Yan's palace, a woman in gorgeous robes suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Her eyes filled with disbelief. Someone managed to break my spell? Who is it? Back in the Evil Sky Pavilion, Lu Zhou was equally surprised. At this moment, I feel the same refreshing sensation I had after I successfully nullified the Brahman lullaby. I am certain that comprehending the heavenly scroll will grant me extraordinary power. However, it was a pity that he still couldn't figure out how to use it. In any case, now is not the time to think such matters. Lu Zhou then looked at Ming Shirin. Ming Shirin felt the witchcraft restriction vanish after hitting the weapon rack. His previously blocked meridians and Dantian's Sea of Qi became unblocked. Ming Shirin was overjoyed and immediately knelt in gratitude. Thank you for undoing the restriction, Master. Your skills are peerless. Lu Zhou remained silent. He was still amazed at the extraordinary nature of heavenly writing. It's even capable of suppressing witchcraft. Ming Shirin at this moment noticed the scattered weapons on the ground. Just as he touched them, a notification sounded in Lu Zhou's mind. Ding! Weapons retrieved, separation hook and scabbard. Recommended owner, Ming Shirin. Master, what are these? Ming Shirin curiously inspected them. Lu Zhou then looked at the weapon. A sword that doesn't look like a sword, a hook that doesn't look like a hook. There were certainly some forces at play in the hidden chamber. Whether it was fate or pure coincidence, Ming Shirin somehow stumbled upon this weapon. Master, I think these weapons suit me. This blade, this scabbard. I like incongruous items like these. I'm sure it's at least an Earth-grade weapon. Since Ming Shirin only appraised the weapons with his eyes and didn't test them, it's natural for him to assume they are Earth-grade weapons. The separation hook and scabbard seemed to have been lying around in the hidden chamber for a long time, so they seemed old. However, since the system recommended Ming Shirin as the owner, it will undoubtedly become a heaven-grade weapon once activated. After considering this, he said lightly, "Put them down." Upon hearing this, Ming Shirin could only obediently put the separation hook back on the ground. You've just entered the nascent divinity tribulation realm, and your cultivation base isn't stable enough for now. It's still too early for you to handle a heaven-grade weapon. Upon hearing this, Ming Shirin's face instantly lit up with joy. There is hidden meaning in Master's words. He's indirectly said the separation hook will be mine sooner or later. Excitedly, he quickly put his clothes back on and responded, "Yes, Master, I'll get stronger as quickly as I can." After speaking, he left the secret room at his master's signal. Reluctantly, he looked back one last time at the separation hook. "Wait for me," he vowed in his heart. Then he quickly walked away with small, hurried steps. On his way back, he happened to run into Duan Musheng and Xia Yuaner. He told them about the master's awe-inspiring display, which left both of them in awe. Soon after, Lu Zhou also emerged from the secret room. The three of them quickly greeted him respectfully. "Master." Lu Zhou nodded in response and then looked at Ming Shireen. "Ming Shireen, although the spell's broken, you should not be careless. Initially, I had no intention of leaving Jinting Mountain for the time being. After all, with my current cultivation base, the best course of action would be to stay in the Evil Sky Pavilion and think of ways to earn merit points through my disciples as I slowly build my strength. However, the truth behind the Fish Dragon Village incident is extremely crucial. It is also related to the palace's elite witchcraft. If I could get to the bottom of this, I might be able to apprehend the person who sealed Zhao Yu's cultivation base. Also, the system's mission list clearly stated that investigating the truth behind the Fish Dragon Village incident would earn me 3,000 merit points. The system had never rewarded me with 3,000 merit points for a single mission before. The importance of this matter is clear. With these thoughts, he spoke in a low voice. "I'll be leaving for the Fish Dragon Village first thing in the morning." Hearing this, Xia Yuaner excitedly clenched her fists. Since Master is personally making a move, victory is certain. "Master, I want to go with you." Before leaving, Lu Zhou instructed Ming Shireen to keep an eye on Black Knight. "Yes, Master. With third senior brother and I here, they won't be able to leave easily even if they sprouted wings." He then asked, "Is there any news about the traders?" Ming Shireen shook his head. "I have not left Jinting Mountain, so I'm unaware of the affairs in the outside world. Ever since the second defeat of the people from the orthodox path, the traders seem to be keeping a low profile and have not made any moves. After I deal with the matter of the Fish Dragon Village, I'll have to think of a way to deal with these traders." Upon returning to the Evil Sky Pavilion, he continued to study the heavenly writing. Evil Sky Pavilion, Heavenly Scroll. After perfectly undoing the spell, my understanding of the Heavenly Scroll seems to have deepened at this moment. The usually awkward and difficult scripts seem much livelier. It has become so much more comfortable and easier to read. Lu Zhou read aloud while contemplating. The Brahmin lullaby was ineffective, and it can suppress witchcraft. Is the human scroll effective against cultivation methods that muddle the heart? As he continued reading, indeed, new content began to appear. He was deeply engrossed and unable to extricate himself. Soon, the morning of the next day arrived. Lu Zhou awakened from his state of contemplating the heavenly writing. At this moment, he felt refreshed, more comfortable than after a good night's sleep. It's time to set off. After dressing carefully, he arrived outside the main hall. At this moment, Xia Yuaner was waiting impatiently. Seeing her master come out, she immediately approached. "I want to ride Whitesard. I don't want Bayan. This naughty girl." I had wanted to reprimand her but eventually decided to satisfy her wish. "After all, I'm already old and can't endure a rocky journey." With a snap of his fingers, instantly, Whitesard's figure descended from the clouds, landing in the open space outside the main hall. Xia Yuaner skillfully mounted Whitesard, the scene making Ming Shireen envious. "If I could have a mount like this, I'd be willing to endure beatings every day." Whitesard was different from Mayan. Its back was wider and its flight was extremely stable. At Lu Zhou's signal, it let out a low growl, leapt up, and disappeared. During the flight, he checked his status. There are still 2,210 merit points left. "I won't buy any item cards and I'll only buy them, based on the situation, when I need them. For instance, if I'm in a dangerous situation that I can't defuse, I can buy 4 impeccable cards. With sufficient time, I'll leave the area on Whitesard's back." Time quickly passed, and an hour later, in order not to attract attention, Lu Zhou had Whitesard land near the Measure Heaven River. Xia Yuaner was somewhat puzzled. "Master, since you're so powerful, you can just make your way there and kill all of them, right?" Lu Zhou reprimanded. "So stubborn." He then took out a small stool and rested in place, while Xia Yuaner obediently started massaging his shoulders. However, she quickly noticed something amiss. "Master, someone's approaching." Moments later, several cultivators were seen swiftly flying overhead, frantically shouting, "Ji Tiandao is coming! Run! The villains of the Evil Sky Pavilion are here! Hurry!" One of the powerful cultivators spotted Lu Zhou and kindly warned, "Old man, quickly run! The old villain, Ji Tiandao, is coming. Are you sick of living?" Upon seeing this, Xia Yuaner wore a bewildered expression. "Master, when did you chase them?" Lu Zhou was somewhat speechless. "Why would I do something so meaningless? They're just a group of small fries." "Master, why don't we catch up to them and kill them?" Upon hearing her words, Lu Zhou asked. "Why?" Xia Yuaner explained. They were cursing and accusing you of something you didn't do. We have to go and kill them. You can't be wrongly accused for nothing." Just as she finished speaking, the ground suddenly began to shake. Lu Zhou looked towards the source, and surprisingly found a giant elephant as tall as a city wall. An epic mount. Mounts are far more valuable than flying chariots. Flying chariots are only difficult to make, but any cultivator with the right materials and formations could activate them. Mounts were rare, to begin with. They were difficult to catch and even more difficult to tame. Elephant King. Its body resembles a castle wall while its legs are like stone pillars. This was the epic mount, Elephant King. It was sturdy and had a strong defense. It could maneuver rugged mountain paths and cross raging rivers. The only thing it could not do was fly. Behind the Elephant King was a huge carriage, with 3 cultivators floating on either side. Lu Zhou, following the principle of live and let live, signaled Xia Yuaner to leave. Just then, a young girl from beside the Elephant King suddenly flew over on her sword. With a haughty face, she blocked their path, and then introduced herself. "I'm the 9th disciple of the Evil Sky Pavilion, Xia Yuaner. I'm asking you, have you seen 10 cultivators running this way?" Hearing this, Xia Yuaner was completely stunned, not only daring to block the way but also impersonating her. Enraged, she picked up her stool and launched an immediate attack. The woman was caught off guard by the sudden attack, quickly raising her arm to block. Then with a kick, she shattered the stool to pieces. Xia Yuaner let out a cold laugh and launched another attack. Under the intense collision, the air vibrated slightly. Lu Zhou, who was watching the battle, remained calm. This little girl's temper is still fiery. Little Yuaner's Supreme Purity Jade Slip is unparalleled in terms of physical prowess. The imposter didn't expect little Yuaner to launch such a sudden attack, catching her completely off guard and forcing her into retreat. The cultivator who engaged in battle with little Yuaner was in the Divine Court realm. Little Yuaner was more than capable of handling opponents of this caliber. However, the person on Elephant King must possess a cultivation base in the nascent divinity tribulation realm, at the very least. If that person makes a move, little Yuaner would have no hope of winning. However, that person didn't seem interested in taking action and simply observed curiously. At this time, under Xia Yuaner's continuous attacks, the woman could only respond in a hasty and disheveled manner. Finally, she was hit in the abdomen by a punch and the fight ended. Xia Yuaner then returned to her master's side, while the impersonator, unwilling to accept defeat, tried to get up to fight again. "That's enough." The old man on Elephant King spoke calmly. Then Lu Zhou used the Eye of Truth to inspect the old man's information. Name: Ding Fanqiu. Race: human. Realm: nascent divinity tribulation realm. Upon close examination, this old man bore some resemblance to Ji Tiandao. Ding Fanqiu was staring down with a profound gaze. "Aren't you afraid of me?" Lu Zhou responded with a calm expression. "Why should I be afraid?" Ding Fanqiu furrowed his brows slightly at this response. "I'm in a good mood today. If this were any other day, I would have punished you for being rude." Upon hearing this, Xia Yuaner couldn't help but chuckle. She thought to herself gleefully, "My master will show you the consequences of impersonating him." "Old man, do you know who is standing in front of you?" Ding Fanqiu paid no attention to her words. Instead, a pleased expression appeared in his eyes. "Little girl, you're highly talented. It's rare for someone as young as you to reach the Divine Court realm." With that, he straightened his posture. "I'm sure you've heard of my mighty name, old scholar." Lu Zhou shook his head, somewhat speechless. "I've been living in the mountains for a long time. I'm afraid I don't know much about the outside world." "There's no need to worry. I'll tell you all about myself. Please, get on the chariot." With a wave of his arm, Ding Fanqiu motioned his disciples to go down and welcome them. Although the disciples didn't understand why he was doing this, they obediently flew down. The burly man impersonating Duan Mushing had a face full of beard, and the person impersonating Ming Shirin was bald. Upon seeing this, Xia Yuaner couldn't help but laugh again. "Get on." The two then controlled the door panels beneath them, and wobbled up into the sky. Lu Zhou was puzzled, considering that they were at the Measure Heaven River. Ding Fanqiu's cultivation base is in the nascent divinity tribulation realm. Isn't he afraid of being hunted down by the people from the noble path for using my name? There must be more to this person than meets the eye. However, no one in this world can threaten or intimidate Lu Zhou, not even Ding Fanqiu. Meanwhile, a gold glowing item card quietly appeared in his hand. People around him were completely unaware and couldn't sense any aura. Arriving above, Lu Zhou asked, "Are you going to Measure Heaven River?" Ding Fanqiu was still putting on airs. Lu Zhou shook his head, somewhat speechless. Ding Fanqiu is still putting on airs. He has no idea that he was standing right before the gates of hell. If he gives a false answer, I won't hesitate to use the item card. Ding Fanqiu responded casually, "Yes, I'm heading toward the Measure Heaven River. Elephant King can navigate through brambles effortlessly. Come aboard." Lu Zhou didn't refuse. "Since I'm old and can't move well, I'll accept your offer." Under Ding Fanchio's command, Elephant King began to move. Entering the chariot, Lu Zhou couldn't help but exclaim, "It's not easy to tame Elephant King." Upon hearing this, Ding Fanchio smiled proudly. "Elephant King is nothing. I have 10 other mounts at the back of Jinting Mountain." Upon hearing this, Xia Yuaner couldn't help but roll her eyes. "Go on, brag some more." Ding Fanchio noticed her expression. "Little girl, don't you believe me?" Xia Yuaner, fluttering her big eyes, replied, "The only person I believe is my grandfather." Ding Fanchio's mouth twitched, but he didn't say anything else. He looked at Xia Yuaner, and then glanced at his flying female disciple outside. He could only shake his head helplessly. Halfway there, a disciple hurriedly reported, "Master, the 2 cultivators who escaped from us last time are ahead." Ding Fanchio stroked his beard and said lightly, "Kill them." Immediately, horrific screams came from the forest. Ding Fanchio, crossing his legs leisurely, explained, "There's no need to be afraid, old householder. Although I committed many wicked crimes, I'm a reasonable person." Lu Zhou nodded and responded, "Me too." Upon hearing this, Ding Fanchio chuckled, "I think we'll get along well, old scholar. Measure Heaven River is just ahead." After saying that, he ordered Elephant King to stop, then leaped down to the ground. Ever since I started comprehending the Heavenly Scroll, my ability to sense aura had improved. When Ding Fanchio dismounted just now, I discovered that the aura he released is extraordinary. Obviously, Ding Fanchio deliberately released his aura. "If you may, please." Ding Fanchio waved his hand casually and spoke in a relaxed manner. As his words fell, Xia Yuaner also jumped down. Lu Zhou followed down the elephant's trunk and landed on the ground. Ding Fanchio stood with his hands behind his back, seemingly very interested in Xia Yuaner. "Little girl, how long have you been cultivating?" Xia Yuaner answered proudly, "More than 5 years. 5 years to get to the divine court." Ding Fanchio, surprised at first, quickly regained his composure. He then pointed to his female disciple. "She's very talented as well. However, she isn't much compared with you." Upon hearing this, Lu Zhou was somewhat speechless. "I don't think a counterfeit is worthy of being compared to her." Xia Yuaner, however, pointed to the other 2 cultivators and asked, "Both of you are in the divine court realm as well?" Upon hearing her words, the 2 impostors nodded arrogantly. Xia Yuaner murmured, "Still a little too weak." Upon hearing this, the 2 counterfeits immediately became displeased and started to argue with her. In this way, they quarreled while moving forward and stopped at a relatively high ground. Beyond the ravine is the Measure Heaven River. Looking out, Lu Zhou found that things had drastically changed. "In my memories, this place was full of villagers and fishermen. Now it has become a barren and deserted ravine. Things remain the same, but the people have changed. The Fish Dragon Village no longer existed. I'll have to start with the location where officers were collecting corpses from the riverbed first to get to the bottom of the Fish Dragon Village incident." As he was thinking, suddenly, Ding Fanchio's hearty voice came. "Many years ago, I dominated the Measure Heaven River. I fought against many elites here, and the battles lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. We fought with our avatars, which resulted in this area being reduced to a ravine. What a character. He doesn't miss any chance to show off." At this time, the fake Ming Shireen stepped forward to report, "Master, the Azure Dragon Association's branch is up ahead. I'll drive them away." Ding Fanchio nodded. "Go ahead." Upon hearing the 3 words Azure Dragon Association, Lu Zhou couldn't help but be a bit surprised. "When I was in Anyang, I encountered the Azure Dragon Association's Anyang branch. I didn't know there was another branch in Measure Heaven River. If the Azure Dragon Association's influence was so vast, their backer, the Nether Sect, definitely would not be weak." Speaking of the Azure Dragon Association, Ding Fanchio explained proudly, "The Azure Dragon Association is backed by the Nether Sect. Yu Zhenghai, the sect master of the Nether Sect. He was my great disciple." Upon hearing this, Xia Yuaner couldn't help but laugh. Lu Zhou maintained his calm demeanor. "I'll allow Ding Fanchio to continue his act for now. Although the Azure Dragon Association only has small fries, it's much better to have them clean it up for me. I want to save as many item cards as possible. They're too valuable." Not long after, the fake Duan Mushing flew back rapidly. "Master, it's as you've expected. When the members of the Azure Dragon Association heard that you're coming, they fled in fear." Upon hearing this, Ding Fanchio waved his hand in satisfaction. "Very good. Keep moving." Meanwhile, at the Crouching Dragon, the Darknet's headquarters, "I have a report, Sect Master. Old Senior G has been spotted near Measure Heaven River." Siwuya opened his mouth indifferently. "The Nether Sect has also received this information. We don't need to take any action. Impersonating the Evil Sky Pavilion will certainly bring calamity to those people. Keep an eye on the Evil Sky Pavilion. Also, where's the Master of Demon Slaying Sect now?" Upon hearing this, the subordinate immediately replied, "Sect Master, Ren Buping is currently at Green Jade Altar. Zhang Yuanshan secretly supports him." Hearing this, Siwaya chuckled. The noble path and evil path are working with each other for nefarious reasons. This is simply the greatest joke under the heavens. Sect Master, there's another report. What is it? The leader of the Black Knights, Fan Shiowen, went to the Evil Sky Pavilion earlier, but his current status is unknown. Senior Sword Devil didn't wait for Fan Shiowen, and his whereabouts is also unknown. I didn't dare to follow Senior Sword Devil. Siwaya spoke indifferently. Second Senior Brother is a humble and gentle person. There's no need for you to fear him. This does not sound convincing. Although the subordinate answered in understanding, he still felt somewhat unreliable in his heart. Sect Master, there's quite a lot of activities at Measure Heaven River lately. Are you certain there's no need for us to monitor that place? Upon hearing this, Siwaya pondered for a moment. Leak this information to the palace. They should clean up their own mess. A wise move, Sect Master. I'll take care of it immediately. At the same time, a group of people arrived at the dilapidated village near Measure Heaven River. Ding Fanchio's 2 disciples stepped forward to lead the way. Master, this is the rendezvous point. They won't dare to be tardy since you personally came. Master, please have a seat. The bald man brought a chair for Ding Fanchio. Siayuaner saw this and quickly took action. Grandfather, I'll go and find a chair for you as well. Taking advantage of her absence, Ding Fanchio glanced at Lu Zhou and spoke indifferently. Do you know why I'm not giving you a hard time? Lu Zhou shook his head without speaking. Ding Fanchio explained with interest. If I did, that little girl would certainly hold a grudge against me. Lu Zhou continued to remain silent. The implication of those words. It seemed that Ding Fanchio has developed a covetous heart towards Siayuaner. Siayuaner brought a chair to her master. At this moment, a group of officials and soldiers were seen approaching from afar, carrying several large boxes. The leading soldier carefully scanned the crowd. This is our catch for the day. Seeing this, Ding Fanchio furrowed his brow and asked, is that all? The palace has ordered that the corpses we fished out from the river are not to be moved. Our deal will end tomorrow. It's too late to end it now. With that, Ding Fanchio swung his arm, and the surrounding disciples immediately drew their weapons and charged. Under the flashing of swords and knives, blood immediately splattered everywhere. Lu Zhou watched all this with a calm expression, while Ding Fanchio chuckled. Your courage is extraordinary, old scholar. It seems like I've misjudged you. At this time, Siayuaner curiously moved towards the boxes. What is in the boxes? A female cultivator nearby answered with a smile. Bones. Human bones. Ding Fanchio stepped forward and gently waved his hand. A palm of chi destroyed the box lid. Lu Zhou's gaze then revealed a puzzled look. These bones look strange. They're slightly translucent, like impure glass or white jade with a muddy coloration. The Bai people, it was clear that the villagers from Fish Dragon Village were dumped into the river. They were Yi Tianxin's people. In that case, why did the palace order their people to fish the sunken corpses out? Ding Fanchio's disciples started to search in the boxes, but they couldn't find what they were looking for. Lu Zhou asked in confusion, what are these bones for? The fake Duan Mushing raised his eyebrows. Old scholar, some things are better left unknown. A few disciples then changed into the uniforms and waist badges of the officials and soldiers. Lu Zhou stroked his beard. Should I tag along and widen my horizon? Hearing this, Ding Fanchio joked. There are many witchcraft traps near the place where the bodies are fished out. Aren't you afraid? From their actions, it was obvious that they had been here before, and were very familiar with everything here. Siayuaner answered while waving her fists. There's nothing under the heavens that my grandfather is afraid of. Ding Fanchio nodded in agreement. This is what I like. Nobody can blame me if something happens. About 15 minutes later, the group arrived at the port where the bodies were fished out. They had to bribe the gatekeeping soldiers with silver to let them pass. If they were only fishing corpses for a day, the soldiers would not be able to make money through such means. However, these men had been doing this for a decade. They were not even sure of what they were fishing out of the river themselves. Rocks, rotten fishes, rotten shrimps, everything was taken away. After repeating the same routine day after day, they became apathetic towards their jobs. Siayuaner blinked her big eyes and asked, why are we killing our way in? The female cultivator nearby explained, this is so much more complicated. There are powerful witchcraft traps around here. Someone's controlling them. The pace of Ding Fanchio and the others was fast. They clearly had been here before. They avoided the guards, circumvented several buildings, and quickly arrived at the target warehouse. Just then, Ding Fanchio suddenly signaled for everyone to stop, as if he had made a major discovery. He then picked up the moist soil from the ground to smell, and tasted it. Only then did he confirm, based on the patterns on the ground and this fresh soil, it seems that a practitioner of witchcraft has set up a trap here. After discovering the witchcraft prohibition, Ding Fanchio looked at the dog in front of him and explained with a grim expression, in witchcraft, timing, location, and the people involved are important. The spellcaster would call upon the power from external sources to either cause harm or bestow blessings on the target. After saying these words, he looked at Lu Zhou and Xia Yuaner with a profound meaning. Old scholar, please take care of yourself. Little girl, if you're afraid, you can stay closer to me. Xia Yuaner defiantly replied, I'm not afraid. Then, the group bypassed the traps at the front door. After much effort, they arrived at the back door. There were no signs of traps here. How could an ordinary lock stop a cultivator? After opening the door, everyone entered the warehouse. This warehouse is dozens of meters long. The warehouse contains neatly stacked rows of boxes. From the looks of the exposed bones, many of the exposed bones appear different from those discovered in the crumbling courtyard. Numerous ordinary bones are mixed. Considering the population of Fish Dragon Village, which had 354 villagers, even if all their corpses were present, the number of remains here is excessive. Moreover, they had been fishing out corpses from the last decade and they are still going strong to this day. Taking into account the remains that had been washed away by the current, were there other people as well, apart from the Bais? Ding Fanqiu calmly issued the command, search. Several disciples immediately began to take action. They leapt onto the boxes and started searching. Seeing this, Lu Zhou became even more confused. Before he could speak, Ding Fanqiu next to him took the initiative to speak. These are the bones of the other tribes. Other tribes? Lu Zhou showed a bit of surprise. Seeing this, Ding Fanqiu began his daily act of grandstanding. There is no place for the other tribes on Great Yan's lands. Over the millennia, after Great Yan had conquered the lands, there have always been disturbances caused by the other tribes. Measure Heaven River is fated to be drenched in blood. After hearing this, Lu Zhou retorted, are all these remains from the other tribes? Ding Fanqiu gave a sarcastic smile. Well, that's what the palace says. Xia Yuaner was a bit curious. What are you guys looking for? Ding Fanqiu replied, an extremely unique bone. What kind of special bone? Xia Yuaner continued to ask, poking her head out. Ding Fanqiu did not answer. Instead, he pointed at her and said with interest, little girl, if you become my disciple, I'll teach you everything that I know. Xia Yuaner shot him a contemptuous look. Ding Fanqiu didn't mind at all and burst into wild laughter. You should consider this carefully. All 9 of my disciples are renowned experts whose names command respect wherever they go. Upon hearing this, Xia Yuaner pointed to the female cultivator next to her who was rummaging through the boxes. She's not. This statement left Ding Fanqiu momentarily speechless. Lu Zhou gave a faint smile. I'm afraid you won't be able to teach her. Ding Fanqiu was trapped in his grandstanding state. There's no one under the heavens I can't teach. Hearing this, Lu Zhou was left somewhat speechless, and didn't bother to argue with him any further. The reason he came here was to investigate the truth behind the Fish Dragon Village incident. For now, he'd allow him to continue his act and impersonate him. After all, he still has some value. However, how did Ding Fanqiu and his 3 disciples manage to form a connection with this place? It seemed like they had been doing this for a long time. What was Ding Fanqiu's objective? Who was backing Ding Fanqiu? Just as Lu Zhou was pondering, the 3 disciples also stopped their search. Master, we didn't find anything. Upon hearing this, Ding Fanqiu frowned. Is there another warehouse? The 3 disciples shook their heads. By this time, the sun had set and it was getting dark. Suddenly, there were hurried footsteps from outside. The fake Duan Mushing noticed it and was instantly on alert. It's an ambush. Ding Fanqiu coldly issued the command, kill them. Upon receiving the order, the 3 immediately charged towards the soldiers outside. Screams of pain rang out one after another. Ordinary people couldn't possibly be a match for cultivators. Lu Zhou understood that since Ming Shirin returned with serious injuries last time, the ambush this time couldn't possibly consist of just ordinary people. A great battle was imminent. He took the opportunity to ask the question in his heart while there was still time. What's the special bone you mentioned earlier? Ding Fanqiu stood with his hands behind his back, his tone revealing a hint of disdain. Old scholar, I'll remind you again. The more you know, the more dangerous it will be. Lu Zhou turned his head and gave him a cold glance. At my age, life and death does not matter. This is not a lie. Before I transmigrated, I had already died once. Moreover, this is nothing compared to when the 10 elites laid siege on Jinting Mountain. The sounds of fighting outside intensified. The number of people increased as well. Cultivators flew in from all directions in the sky. Then a wave of sound spread throughout the entire port. You've walked into a trap. Death to the intruders, a projected voice rang in the jetty at this moment. Although the voice wasn't loud, everyone heard it clearly. It seemed like things were getting more and more complicated. The fake Ming Shirin hurriedly reported to the people inside the house. We're surrounded. It's a trap. Upon hearing this, Ding Fanqiu seemed unperturbed and leapt into the air. He looked at Xia Yuaner with interest. Little girl, pay close attention. With that, he exploded with a powerful gust of chi. Avatar. With a shout, a 5-meter-tall golden avatar appeared in the air. Under the envelopment of chi, the golden lotus under him bloomed one petal after another, totaling 4 petals. His disciples watched this scene with worshipful expressions on their faces. Yuan scoffed. Only 4 leaves. Hearing this, the female cultivator next to her became angry. What do you know? Our master's strength is peerless. He's conserving his strength. 4 leaves are enough to deal with these people. With 100 tribulations in sight, everyone here will have to exhaust themselves. At this moment, waves and waves of energy rolled off Ding Fanchio's 4-leaf avatar. The buildings near the jetty shook and rattled. The soldiers retreated further. The cultivators raised their guards. Seeing this, a cultivator quickly stabilized the morale. Everyone, stay calm. Let's retreat slowly. News from the palace states that this person isn't the real Ji Tiandao. A grand witchcraft formation was laid down here yesterday. Let's head back to the grand formation. When the elites from the palace arrive, these criminals will be taken care of in one fell swoop. No matter who it is. Death to the intruders. Under his encouragement, the soldiers all started shouting in unison. There are thousands of soldiers and hundreds of cultivators here. It is clear that everything is a trap. Lu Zhou understood. Since the trap had been set, it was only natural that they could not find what they wanted in the warehouse. It seems like this was planned from the start. That thing must be hidden or still somewhere on the riverbed. Yuan clenched her fists, seeming eager to fight. What do we do now? Do we charge through their ranks? Lu Zhou shook his head, indicating that it wasn't necessary. Since that person likes being in the spotlight, let him do it. Upon hearing this, Yuan immediately seemed disheartened. A 4-leaf avatar. This won't be interesting at all. Being used to seeing grand spectacles, she felt that such a level of avatar was of a much lower grade. The female cultivator next to her snorted coldly upon hearing this. Little girl, don't be arrogant just because you had a stroke of luck and managed to defeat me earlier. With your strength, you won't even be able to make a single move against my master. Yuan didn't bother responding. She retorted with a single word, loser, and ignored her, although Yuan looked down upon it. However, for the other cultivators, a 4-leaf golden lotus avatar could be considered an elite among elites. The cultivators who were hovering in the air gulped. They were wary of the avatar's intimidating power. No one dared to make a move against the nascent divinity tribulation realm elite at this moment. At this time, several groups of Chiffon Madras were floating around Ding Fanchio. Lu Zhou recognized these as Taoist Madras. Taoist Madras were different from Zen sex Madras. Zen sex Madras rely on the golden body's support and the cultivator's own muster energy to form the fierce Buddhist power. On the other hand, Taoist Madras mainly manipulated the muster energy in the area, providing a good range. Regardless, both Madras are interconnected. Their differences were not as distinct as one might imagine. The densely packed Madras shot toward the soldiers and cultivators. Some of the cultivators turned to flee when they saw things were not in their favor. Retreat. Don't fight him. Wear him down. Prepare the witchcraft formation. Ding Fanchio controlled his Madras like a heavenly maiden scattering blossoms. In just a blink of an eye, he took out several hundred soldiers. Many cultivators stood far away. Their cultivation bases were barely enough to protect them from the avatar's intimidating aura. They had no additional strength to fight back. It was as though a flood had just washed over the area. The sound of people screaming rang in the air. The remaining soldiers retreated further away. Ding Fanchio was somewhat pleased. Who dares to stop me from leaving? Although he said this, there are many witchcraft traps here. If this fight drags on and the elites from the palace arrive, I can't escape. So he didn't dare to delay. With a loud roar, he spouted a thick wave of energy. Centered on him, it instantly spread in all directions. Seeing this, the soldiers once again sped up their retreat. The reason why nascent divinity tribulation realm cultivators were so terrifying was due to the 100 tribulation insight avatar. The higher the avatar rises, the wider its intimidation aura would spread. The energy around his avatar spread in all directions with overwhelming force. Lu Zhou, seeing this, stroked his beard and said indifferently, "He's slightly accomplished in Madras." Yuan was somewhat curious. "This is a slight accomplishment?" Lu Zhou immediately responded. Taoist Madras mainly manipulate the muster energy in their surroundings, condensing chi into energy. For a great cultivator, even an avatar can be converted into energy. Zen Madras are mainly created by the cultivator himself. Usually, they're in the form of palm seals. Yuan, fluttering her big eyes, continued to inquire. So, which one's more powerful, the Taoist Madras or the Zen Madras? Little Yuaner's interested to learn more. This is a good thing. If I can groom her well, she'll surely become a great person in the future. Lu Zhou nodded in approval. Each one has its own advantages. making it impossible to compare them. Ding! Teach Ciayuana reward, 100 merit points. The female cultivator standing by was somewhat surprised after hearing this. You're quite knowledgeable, old mister. Indeed, our master is using Taoist mudras. However, Taoist mudras have hand seals as well. There are 12 Taoist mudras in total. The more profound one's cultivation base is, the more powerful the hand seals will be. It won't lose to Zen mudras. After hearing this, Lu Zhou thought to himself, a junior who's still wet behind the ears but is too proud to ask for guidance. She can view the sky from the bottom of the well forever. At this moment, after Ding Fanqiu repelled everyone, he summoned the Elephant King. The clanging footsteps came running from far to near. Many soldiers couldn't dodge in time and were directly hit and died on the spot. Ding Fanqiu stood with his hands behind his back and landed steadily on the Elephant King's back. His 3 disciples saw this and immediately flew towards the Elephant King. Ding Fanqiu, who had just steadied himself, suddenly jumped down again. He then landed in front of Lu Zhou. Then he looked at Ciayuana and chuckled. Little girl, come to my side. Just as Ding Fanqiu finished speaking, several long rainbows suddenly slashed across the distant sky. Someone has arrived at the palace. Seeing this, he quickly leaped into the air again. Why isn't that little girl coming over? I thought she would be scared and immediately run over to my side. But not only did Ciayuana not run, she started to watch with interest. It's one thing to watch, but her expression seemed somewhat disdainful. Little girl, if you don't leave now, it will be too late. Ding Fanqiu shouted and fell back onto the Elephant King's back. Seeing this, Lu Zhou shook his head. The Elephant King can't get away. Although the Elephant King's resistance is not bad, and its combat power is okay, but it will never fly. Seeing that Ciayuana was unmoved, Ding Fanqiu showed a look of regret. I have never seen such a young person with extraordinary talent and cultivation. She will definitely surpass my female disciple by an unknown margin. If I could bring this little girl under me, it would be of great help. Unfortunately, what a pity. At Ding Fanqiu's command, the Elephant King quickly charged towards the outer edge. Under the trampling of this giant beast, the ground began to shake. Those 3 disciples are hovering above the throne of the Elephant King and seem constantly vigilant against the cultivators who might launch an attack. An expert of the nascent divinity tribulation realm just sitting within the throne and yet emanating such a powerful aura which deters all the nearby soldiers from approaching, even without making a move. Lu Zhou, Ciayuana, and the dog are still leisurely watching the show. There's a faint purple thing that looks both eerie and mysterious has appeared underneath. Some kind of mist-like haze which faintly resembles blue smoke is gradually rising from those purple things. One of the commanders immediately rallied. It's a powerful witchcraft formation. Take down those invaders. There will be generous rewards for those who succeed. March. Some cultivators and soldiers wrapped in fog charged fearlessly. The witchcraft formation is taking effect. Even if the Elephant King absorbs spiritual energy during its cultivation, it is still an animal after all. It might become formidable and fierce, but it lacks the intelligence humans possess. But upon seeing those purple circles, it actually retreated. The Elephant King let out a thunderous roar that echoed through the mountains, reverberating in all directions. Instead of advancing forward, it actually continued to retreat. Seeing this, Ding Fanqiu was so angry that he cursed, "You useless beast." He immediately leaped into the air. Again using the 100 Tribulations Insight avatar, Lu Zhou was somewhat puzzled. The Dharma body of the 100 Tribulations Insight is a powerful move. It consumes a tremendous amount of spiritual energy. It wouldn't be very wise to consume energy in this way. After all, these people are just small fry. If the experts from the palace were to come, how should he respond? Ding Fanqiu doesn't have an unlimited consumption capability like the Peak Experience card. Moreover, when the Dharma body of the 100 Tribulations Insight appeared, those cultivators who were preparing to approach retreated once again, as if they had been trained in advance. To be precise, those rising things are not mists, but rather a part of the formation. Formations convert spiritual energy and form seamless trap formations. However, the soldiers and the cultivators are not affected by them. Under the power of Ding Fanqiu's spiritual energy, he used a move called the Heavenly Martial Seal. Just like last time, the Dharma body of the 100 Tribulations Insight has once again whirls and releases countless celestial seals in the sky. Under the expulsion of celestial seals, the faint purple circles seem to have slowed down momentarily and had no remarkable effect. Those circles have surrounded the entire harbor. As the circles slowly expanded, they intertwined with each other and transformed into a gigantic interconnected structure that resembled a 5-ring formation. The radiance around it is growing stronger and stronger. The witchcraft formation ultimately came together in the end. The Elephant King retreated once again. Who would have believed that, if not seen with their own eyes? Even the mighty jungle ruler, the Elephant King, would also experience fear. No matter how much its owner urges, the Elephant King remains unmoved and still retreating at its own pace while paying no attention to the external commands. Even the expert of the cultivation at the nascent divinity tribulation realm is unable to control it. Who might be the expert in the palace responsible for setting up such a powerful witchcraft formation? Ding Fanchio's brow furrowed. He hurriedly called several disciples to get into the water. Maintaining this Dharma body consumes an excessive amount of energy, and it is also necessary to preserve strength. Right now, only the surface of the Measure Heaven River appears relatively calm. Perhaps there is a chance to escape. Feeling helpless, he could only decide to abandon the Elephant King. Seeing this, Lu Zhou kindly reminded, the river has long been covered by the formation circles, spreading even beneath the water. Ding Fanchio's eyebrows furrowed as he looked down from midair, his gaze sweeping over the surface of the river near the harbor. Only then did he find that what he said was right. Indeed, the surface of the river has already been covered by those faint purple formation circles, and they are also growing larger and larger. One must not touch those formation circles. Otherwise, they will be bonded and restricted until their cultivation weakens and gradually fades away. At that point, it will be like a lamb left to the slaughter, with no way to turn the tide. Ding Fanchio then turned his gaze to Lu Zhou. Seeing you being so calm, do you have any good strategies? Does this old fellow have any tricks up his sleeve? But Lu Zhou just shook his head. I got none. We just have to wait for the one who created this witchcraft formation to appear. Since there's no discoveries made in the warehouse, it's time to focus on the people within the palace. Those formation circles have already approached closer, within a few meters in front. At this moment, a cultivator appeared from nowhere, mockingly said, "Oh, isn't this the renowned Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation? Where did that arrogant demeanor from earlier go? Someone has already informed us that you would come." The message was spread within the palace and the witchcraft formation was set up in advance. We were just waiting for you to take the bait. The witchcraft formations in this place were set up for so many years and have never been as magnificent as it is today. How is it compared to your barrier at Jinting Mountain? The commanding cultivator flies over, overlooking the front. During the previous display of the Dharma body of the 100 Tribulations Insight, he surprisingly stayed hidden and did not come out. Now that the witchcraft formation has formed, he has finally shown up. Seeing a youngster daring to mock him, Ding Fanchio immediately snorted. This is outrageous. 100 Tribulations Insight. 5 leaves. This is exactly the moment I've been waiting for. With his yell, the 4-leaf 100 Tribulations Insight avatar suddenly expanded into 5 leaves. The energy of that avatar is extremely fierce. Several people in the distance were shaken and spat out blood before they could react. His 3 disciples looked on in admiration. This is the true strength of my master. The 5-leaf avatar's energy covers a much wider area compared to before. Many cultivators cried out in pain as they were sent flying before they died. The soldiers and cultivators once again retreated. At this moment, a general took the initiative to come forward to stabilize the morale. They're restricted by the Grand Witchcraft Formation. They can't escape even if they grow wings. We'll just wait until they're too exhausted to fight back. After recalling his avatar, Ding Fanchio slowly landed. The 100 Tribulations Insight avatar consumes a tremendous amount of vital energy. He now must preserve his strength. The Grand Witchcraft Formation continued to expand. Although its speed is much slower now, it would eventually bind them if this continued. Xia Yuaner looked at the slowly approaching formation with some unease. Master, what should I do now? Hearing this, Ding Fanchio was extremely surprised. This old scholar is your master? Xia Yuaner glared at him. You're annoying. What does it have to do with you? If you continue blabbering, I'll ask my master to clobber you to death. Upon hearing this, Ding Fanchio didn't get angry. For some reason, I'm not losing my temper when I hear little Yuaner provocative words. It's truly a shame if I can't make her my disciple. Lu Zhou remained silent throughout. The item card is already in my hand. If Ding Fanchio made any sudden movements, I could have taken his life with an item card. An item card would undoubtedly be able to kill a nascent divinity tribulation realm cultivator. Ding Fanchio was very puzzled inside. He sensed Lu Zhou's aura and cultivation once again. He's still as calm as ever. I probed his aura and cultivation base again. He is weak, truly weak. At most, he has connected 3 meridians in the Brahman Sea realm. He doesn't seem to be hiding his true cultivation base. Once the Grand Witchcraft Formation reaches him and takes effect, he'll have to defend himself with his muster energy. At that time, he won't have a way to conceal his strength. I wonder who he is. How did he become this little girl's master? At this moment, the witchcraft circle's speed increased. In the blink of an eye, it covered the entire jetty. It was as if a giant translucent bowl had fallen from the skies. The grand witchcraft formation is officially completed. Ding Fanchio's face changed drastically. Before the witchcraft spell completely entered his extraordinary 8 meridians and blocked his Dantian's sea of qi, he had to leave this place as quickly as possible. Run! His 3 disciples were sweating profusely. They were in a state of extreme weakness. Ding Fanchio understood. I'm the only one in the nascent divinity tribulation realm. I could not bring so many people to escape with me. So he tentatively looked at Lu Zhou. Old scholar, I don't care what kind of elite you are, but you and I must work together now if we want to leave. The grand witchcraft formation will render us powerless in no time at all. After hearing this, Lu Zhou casually glanced at him. You're not worth it. My current cultivation base is only in the Brahman Sea 8 Meridians realm. I could not even be considered as an 8 Meridians expert yet. Moreover, my avatar is the lowly mighty 4 quadrants. If I were to manifest it, it would only be slightly larger than a monkey. It would be of no use at all. The result is the same without restricting cultivation. Ding Fanchio was so angry that he was puffing out his beard and glaring. If I hadn't summoned my 100 Tribulation Insight avatar earlier, you'd be dead by now. The palace has laid down this grand formation to guard this place. Now that the trap has been triggered, we won't be able to leave if we don't act now. Currently, I'm the only one capable of escaping from this place. Little girl, I'm giving you a final chance. Come with me, I'll bring you away from this dangerous situation. Upon hearing this, Xia Yuan scoffed. Get lost. Seeing this, Ding Fanchio could only shake his head helplessly. How unfortunate if that's the case. I'll leave on my own and leave you to your fate. The witchcraft has already begun invading my meridians. Realizing something was amiss, he suddenly shot upwards. His whole body's gang energy burst out and enveloped him. If I don't leave now, I'll be stuck here forever. Just a few moments ago, I hesitated about leaving my disciples here. However, there's no need. I don't have time to hesitate now after all. It's too late. Master, please don't leave me here. Master. Upon seeing this, the 3 of them suddenly burst into tears. Their cultivation bases are only in a divine court realm. Moreover, they have already been weakened by the witchcraft trap. How could they possibly leave the grand formation? The 3 of them put together could not even compare to Little Yuaner. Little Yuaner merely felt a minor effect. After all, the Supreme Purity Jade Slip is much better than other cultivation methods. At this moment, Ding Fanchio once again sped up. He was about to break out of the grand witchcraft formation, but at this moment, a pale blue arrow suddenly shot over. It was so fast that it was almost sparking from friction with the air. Like a meteor, it passed through the area of the grand witchcraft formation and directly pierced Ding Fanchio's protective gang energy shield, embedding in his shoulder. Ding Fanchio's eyes widened in disbelief. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, he fell back to the ground like a deflated balloon. Upon seeing this, everyone started guessing. A master has appeared. Only a nascent divinity tribulation realm archer could land a hit on him from such a distance under these circumstances. Also, the archer must have a certain level of skill. Who could that person be? Under the skies of Great Yan, there is only one person, the strongest among the 3 godly archers, who could pull off such a shocking feat, easily piercing through a 5-leaf avatar elite's protective energy layer. He is here. Everyone's attention was drawn over. A square red flying palanquin was seen hovering quietly. At each corner of the palanquin, a female cultivator stood guard, and on top of the palanquin, there appeared a man wearing a flower cloak and a bamboo hat. The 2 words most powerful behind the flower cloak were enough to show his strength and confidence. That shocking arrow was indeed shot by this man. Ding Fanchio watched the scene with a grave expression. Such a high-level archery skill. Meanwhile, Lu Zhou started making calculations secretly. So, the reinforcements from the palace have arrived. It seems like more than one of them. What if one deadly strike card isn't enough? Just then, the man jumped down and landed gracefully on the ground. The surrounding soldiers bowed respectfully and shouted in unison, "Greetings, Lord Chen." This archer possesses at least a 6-leaf cultivation. He is Chenju, the most powerful person among the Divine Capital's 3 godly archers. Lu Zhou then used the Eye of Truth to check the other's information. Name, Chenju, race, Triverso, realm, nascent divinity tribulation. Lu Zhou was slightly surprised. He then looked at the 4 women. Based on their auras, at least 2 of them are in the nascent divinity tribulation realm. However, a nascent divinity tribulation realm cultivator without any leaves is not a genuine cultivator in the nascent divinity tribulation realm. I think I might have underestimated the situation. Should I use an impeccable card to escape? While Lu Zhou was contemplating, Chenju's voice rang out. His Excellency has ordered for these people from the Evil Sky Pavilion to be captured and handed over to the palace. Upon hearing this, the general nearby quickly responded, "Understood." Hearing these words, the three disciples shuddered in fear. "We're not disciples from the Evil Sky Pavilion. You've made a mistake. We're fakes." Chenju responded with a faint smile. "Since they're fakes, we'll execute them here." After saying this, his right hand rested on the bowstring. His fingers pulled the string, condensing his chi into gang energy. The illusory arrow gradually took shape. With a swoosh, the arrow was instantly shot out, directly piercing Ding Fanchio's female disciple. Upon seeing this, Ding Fanchio's face turned pale, but he soon calmed down. He turned his chi into an energy arrow. How could a divine court realm cultivator, restricted by the Grand Formation, defend herself against Chenju, one of the divine capital's three godly archers? Lu Zhou watched this scene without any expression. His bow seems to be an earth-grade weapon, similar to Li Qing's bow. He is going to kill them one by one with his arrows. He spoke lightly. "Ji Tiandao?" Ding Fanchio did not deny it. He forced himself to stay calm and revealed the other party's identity. "Are you Chenju, one of the three godly archers, whose arrows never miss?" Chenju laughed upon hearing this. My reputation precedes me. Indeed, I am Chenju. You've trespassed where you shouldn't have." Ding Fanchio stroked his beard in response. This is how the Evil Sky Pavilion has always operated. Upon hearing these words, Chenju glanced at him. "That's enough. It's one thing for you to fool others with your act, but you can drop your act in front of my lord. Your strength and cultivation base are too weak. Even the real patriarch of the Evil Sky Pavilion would have to admit defeat today, let alone an imposter like you. This grand witchcraft formation was prepared specifically for blind and arrogant cultivators like yourself." As soon as he finished speaking, the aged and deep voice of Lu Zhou came through. "Three godly archers of the divine capital?" Hearing this, Chenju's gaze shifted from Ding Fanchio to Lu Zhou. His eyebrows furrowed. "I did not notice this person." Lu Zhou's expression was calm and composed, not at all affected by the witchcraft grand formation. Seeing this, Chenju was instantly startled. "You're not affected by the grand formation?" Lu Zhou calmly looked at him. "Are you talking to me?" Chenju waved his right hand, slowly conjuring several arrows composed of gang energy. "Do you know who you're talking to? I applaud you for your bravery." Lu Zhou shook his head and responded. Chenju with a proud expression on his face. "Old man, who are you?" Before Lu Zhou could answer, Xia Yuaner couldn't hold back any longer. She stepped forward and announced loudly, "The person standing before you is the true master of the Evil Sky Pavilion." Upon hearing this, everyone revealed expressions of disbelief. After Xia Yuaner finished speaking, she retreated back to her master's side explaining, "I could not hold it back any longer." Lu Zhou shook his head after hearing, indicating it was no problem. Right after Lu Zhou revealed his identity, Ding Fanchio suddenly woke up, scared out of his wits. "No wonder. I had thought this little girl resembled the Evil Sky Pavilion's 9th disciple. How many times did I attempt to take her as my apprentice? Who knew the old man whom he had brought with him was the old villain he had been impersonating? I'm dead. But at this moment, Chenju in the distance not only disbelieved but burst into laughter. "My lord was informed that this Ji Tiandao is an imposter. I'm here to kill him on the spot." Lu Zhou coldly looked at him. "If you answer 3 of my questions, I'll turn a blind eye to today's event." The bow and arrow in Chenju's hand were ready to shoot. Suddenly a wind bell sound came from the airborne carriage in the sky. It seemed to be conveying an order. Chenju understood the meaning. Frowning, he uttered a single word. "Speak." Lu Zhou, swaying the cup in his hand, slowly began. "First, who's your lord? Second, what's the purpose of fishing the corpses out of the river? Third, who's the mastermind behind the destruction of the fish dragon village? If you answer these 3 questions, no one will die here today." That tone, attitude, and expression, without him making a move, there's no doubt about it. He's the real master of the Evil Sky Pavilion, Ji Tiandao, the patriarch of the evil path, who has 9 great villains as his disciples. Was there anyone under the heavens, apart from Ji Tiandao, who could stand unaffected in a grand witchcraft formation? As Lu Zhou finished speaking, the whole scene was as silent as a grave. One could hear a pin drop. Chenju didn't answer. He was waiting for his master's orders. The soldiers and cultivators waiting outside the formation are primed and ready to attack at a moment's notice. This is a sure-win situation. "My lord, what are you thinking about?" After a moment, the sound of the bell rang. Upon receiving the order, Chenju revealed a teasing smile. "My apologies. It's meaningless for someone who's about to die to know the answers to these questions. I've never met anyone who dared to speak to me in such a manner. An arrow that has been shot can't be recalled. Death is the best outcome for these people. Qi consolidated into several energy arrows. Chenju, holding the bow and arrow, had already aimed at several people on the field. Any last words? As expected of the Divine Capital's 3 godly archers, from his movements alone, it's clear that Chenju is much more powerful than Li Qing, one of the 4 Dark Knights. Lu Zhou shook his head. There's a price to pay for being stupid. He then supplemented 4 more prop cards. 5 balls of golden light immediately solidified in his palm. The golden light kept enlarging, morphing into the shape of Tai Chi. Seeing this, Chenju's eyebrows furrowed again. What the? Taoist Madras? How's this possible? Are Taoist Madras so big? Without time to think, he quickly released the bowstring in his hand. The arrows of Gang Chi were instantly shot out, and just then, the incoming Madras came over like shooting stars, leaving a trail of golden light in the sky. Not only did they swallow the arrows of Gang Chi, but Chenju, not too far away, couldn't escape either. He was directly blasted into bits. Everything returned to calm, as if nothing had happened at all. Lu Zhou watched the scene without any expression. Everyone on the field was stunned. Ding Fanqiu and his 2 disciples stood dumbstruck. The other 4 Tai Chi golden lights flew into the sky. The female cultivator in the red flying chariot realized something was wrong after a moment of stunned silence. The audacity! The female cultivators shouted, full of confidence. They wanted to disperse these Tai Chi golden lights, but as soon as they made contact, they noticed something strange. The surface of the Madras was covered with Gang Chi, vast like the sea. Touching it only caused a slight ripple. There was absolutely no effect. The 4 circles of light passed by the 4 of them, blooming like fireworks. After the brilliance, they turned into smoke. Only 4 clouds of blood mist were left in the air. The people who witnessed all this couldn't believe it, as if they were dreaming. In just a few seconds, 5 masters from the palace were killed on the spot. It was just too fast. Ding Fanqiu knelt down with a thud, his face filled with shock. In this cultivation world, a cultivator would at least need a cultivation base of 7-leaf nascent divinity tribulation realm to cast these Taoist Madras. And this is the case after being caught in the witchcraft formation. This means one would have to fight against the spell's corrosion as well. Just how powerful is this strongest expert under the heavens? Compared to the colossal energy seal, my Taoist Madras were as insignificant as ants. I've never seen such shocking Taoist Madras in my entire life. Those who are capable of casting Taoist Madras like these were Taoist grandmasters. Such exquisite Taoist Madras. To think I tried impersonating someone like this. How foolish. Ding! Killed 3 nascent divinity tribulation targets and 2 divine court realm targets. Rewarded with 3,700 merit points. Fortunately, I didn't suffer any loss. After making the calculations, it seems Chenju alone was worth 1,500 points. However, I did not earn much. I have spent 2,000 merit points earlier after all. I didn't want to attack him. For a nascent divinity tribulation realm elite archer like Chenju, it was easy to fire 3 arrows per second. I can't parry them all with critical block cards. Moreover, I would probably have to waste my impeccable cards as well. Rather than wasting my precious resources, it's easier to do things this way. Also, there was no place for other tribes under Great Yan's skies. Unlike the Triverso, the Bai people branched out from the Great Yan citizens over the generations. After several millennia of surviving, they set down their roots here. They were aboriginals. The Triverso, on the other hand, was another tribe since ancient times. The uncontrolled chariot fell back to the ground. It was completely empty, with no one inside. The soldiers and cultivators were hastily retreating, while Lu Zhou slowly stepped forward. Dear Emperor, what kind of people do you keep around you? Do you know that a person from the other tribe had infiltrated the palace? If only more of them would come here as well. Fortunately, I had expected this when I used my 5 cards. The situation is still within my control. If a group of Divine Court Realm cultivators had charged at me, I would have had a hard time dealing with it. Xia Yuaner cheerfully came to her master's side. Lu Zhou then asked her, "How are you feeling? Is the Supreme Purity Jade Slip capable of repelling witchcraft?" Xia Yuaner obediently answered, "I'm alright. I felt slightly dizzy earlier, but I feel much better now." For some reason, after the masters in the palace died, the surrounding witchcraft circle also faded a lot. The light purple fog dispersed mostly. Lu Zhou then looked at Ding Fanqiu, who was coughing violently. With Chenju dead, I have no choice but to try and get information from Ding Fanqiu. Whether I had to resort to torture or intimidation, I'm certain I would be able to get something out. Ding Fanqiu noticed him and quickly knelt on the ground. This junior had eyes but couldn't see clearly. "Please forgive me, senior," Lu Zhou calmly said. "I think it's strange for you to address me as your senior." Ding Fanqiu explained in fear. "It's unforgivable for me to impersonate you. However, I must still thank you for killing Chenju and avenging my disciple. Thank you, senior." After Ding Fanqiu finished speaking, he kept kowtowing with his 2 disciples. Ding! You have received a Kowdow. Reward, 2 merit points. The merit points reward is so small, insincere and petty hypocrites. Lu Zhou's expression was as usual, showing no emotion. I have some questions for you, and you'll answer them truthfully. Tell me your true identity. Upon hearing this, Ding Fanqiu quickly responded, I'm Ding Fanqiu from Great Yanzun sect. These 3 are truly my disciples. Why did you impersonate the evil Sky Pavilion? Lu Zhou stroked his beard and continued asking. Ding Fanqiu hesitated for a moment, but eventually spoke up. Senior, many of the Yun, Tian, and Luo sect's disciples were killed by the evil Sky Pavilion. Centuries ago, the evil Sky Pavilion destroyed several thousand weapons of the 3 sects, dealing a heavy blow to our foundations. Since then, we've never been able to truly recover. I was ordered to impersonate the master of the evil Sky Pavilion and commit crimes everywhere. After hearing this, Lu Zhou sighed helplessly. Yun sect is the head of the 3 sections. A grand sect of the noble path is resorting to such despicable methods? Ding Fanqiu responded. The evil Sky Pavilion has committed so many evil deeds. I was only ordered to give them a taste of their own medicine. Before he could finish speaking, a slap came across his face. I'll ask you again, what's the secret behind that bone? After being slapped, Ding Fanqiu became much more honest. There's a bone from the Bai people that can help a cultivator overcome the great limitation of 1,000 years. Senior, with your knowledge and experience, you must have heard of this before. Upon hearing this, Lu Zhou was taken aback. A bone from the Bai people that's capable of overcoming the life limit of the cultivation world? After searching my memories again, since Ji Tiandao lived for 1,000 years and traveled across the lands, it's impossible for him to have no collection of this matter. Has this bone been found? The palace has searched for this bone continuously for a decade and didn't find it. The chances are even slimmer for us. Upon hearing this, Xia Yuaner burst into laughter. Fools, nobody can overcome the life limit. The owner of the bone died. Yet, you're hoping the bone can help you overcome your life limit. What a joke. This cultivation world, everyone steps on this big limit, but there's always someone unwilling to submit, wanting to try. Could it be that Great Yan's emperor is also unwilling to submit to the limit of his lifespan? Just as he was pondering, thousands of soldiers and cultivators slowly approached. They've been affected by the witchcraft formation. They're powerless now. Don't be afraid. Trespassers will be executed on the spot. Attack! Seeing the many cultivators approaching, Xia Yuaner stepped forward, ready to make a move. But Lu Zhou shook his head indicating it wasn't necessary. He then summoned Bayan. In an instant, a purple lightning bolt descended from the sky and struck the ground. Bayan roared and charged into the crowd. The cultivators with cultivation bases in the Brahman Sea realm and below have no choice but to retreat. Meanwhile, the soldiers could not withstand even a single blow. They were all sent flying. The Divine Court realm cultivators launched their madras and flying swords. But not only was Bayan unhurt, it was actually enraged. It leaped up, directly pouncing towards those cultivators flying in the air. As Bayan began its massacre, continuous notification sounds reached Lu Zhou's ears. Merit points would only increase when cultivators were killed. There was none for ordinary people. So, Lu Zhou slightly moved his thoughts and issued a command to Bayan. I've always been a kind old man. Spare the folks, pay attention to the cultivators. Bayan's powerful attack was beyond everyone's expectation. Ding Fanqiu watched in astonishment. A legendary mount? Compared to this, Elephant King is just the trash of the trash. Added 800 merit points, but it's not much. Weak cultivators can only award me with pathetically small rewards. Lu Zhou waved his hand indicating that it was enough. Upon receiving the command, Bayan let go of the ordinary soldier in its mouth. Then, it turned around and strutted back to its master. As it passed by Elephant King, it disdainfully gave it a glance. The gigantic Elephant King instantly fell to the ground in fear, shivering. So, that's the difference between a legendary mount and an epic mount. Xia Yuaner came over and cheered repeatedly. At this time, 2 people in the distant sky were rapidly flying over. Their speed was extremely fast, and the aura they emitted drew everyone's attention. Ding Fanqiu stared blankly at the sky above. Did the palace send a lot of masters? Just as he was wondering, the 2 majestic figures had already appeared on the ground one after the other. Ming Shirin bowed with his hands clasped. Master, Duan Mushing was also extremely respectful. Xia Yuaner happily bounced over to the 2. Third brother, fourth brother. Hearing her address, even a fool would understand who the 2 people were. The kneeling impostor opened his mouth in confusion. Master, they look a bit like us. Ding Fanqiu compared his disciples to the 2. The difference in their presence was not just a little. Lu Zhou calmly looked at them. Why are you 2 here? The 2 immediately replied. Master, I've obtained some evidence from Fan Xiuwen. He said that there's a witchcraft formation here and was guarded by a palace master. So I came here immediately with third brother to help. There's a lot of masters in the palace. I know, master is very powerful and won't even pay any mind to this. but those pathetic pricks don't deserve the master's attention. We made this decision by ourselves, forgive us. This kid got a bit better after seeing the separation hook. He's being very detailed with things compared to back then. Lu Zhou shook his head and answered that it was fine. In his heart, he felt somewhat speechless. I would have saved 5 item cards if I knew this earlier. But what's done has been done. I've already used it and there's no point of regretting it. Duan Mushing looked around somewhat embarrassed. The corpses are everywhere. We're late. Xia Yuaner covered her mouth and giggled. Third brother, fourth brother, look at those 2 counterfeits. Hearing this, the 2 immediately approached. Only then did they notice the men who looked somewhat similar to them kneeling on the ground. You think you are qualified enough to be my counterfeit? Ming Shirin looked at the 3 and snorted coldly. The 2 were frightened, trembling, and hastily explaining. It's a misunderstanding. Ming Shirin didn't waste any words. He directly activated his 100 Tribulations Inside Avatar. In an instant, violent auras crisscrossed around. Duan Mushing showed interest and nodded. Me too. Then he roared, 100 Tribulation Inside Avatar. Seeing that he also wanted to show off, Ming Shirin immediately ran up to stop him. Hey, brother, you already have the Overlord Spear. Just let me handle this. Once his one-leaf avatar is unleashed, his leafless avatar would pale in comparison. Then he turned his head and looked at Lu Zhou. Don't worry, master. Before we left Jinting Mountain, we had definitely beaten Fan Shouwen into his place. I'm sure that he'll be obedient as hell. Upon hearing this, Lu Zhou was somewhat speechless. Jinting Mountain has barrier protection, so even the outsiders can't make it in. That's too much. At this moment, Ding Fanqiu was incredibly shocked. Fan Shouwen is an evil sky pavilion? Don't ask about things that you shouldn't. Ming Shirin chastised him. Lu Zhou rose to his feet and looked at Ding Fanqiu. You came from Insect. Who ordered you? Ding Fanqiu hesitated, seeming unwilling to answer. Lu Zhou snorted coldly. If you don't speak, after this, he'll get killed and you'll get yourself in trouble. Upon hearing this, Ding Fanqiu pondered for a moment. What he said made sense. Up until now, there's no point of return anymore. Besides, it was the senior who helped me avenge my female apprentice. After thinking it through, he then began to speak. The law enforcement elder of Insect, Hua Wudao. Upon hearing this name, Ming Shirin's eyebrows furrowed. That old fart is still alive? Elder Hua has held a grudge against the old senior ever since the old senior defeated him. It has become an obsession and a knot in his heart, causing him unable to make any progress in his cultivation. So, hearing this, Ming Shirin spat. What a shameless prick. He only got himself to blame for being weak. How dare he blame someone else for being too powerful? Only someone from the evil Sky Pavilion would say something like that. Back then, Hua Wudao was a 6-leaf Golden Lotus Avatar elite, and he is specialized in defense. Even the 10 great elites did not dare to underestimate him. He prided himself on his defensive skills. 20 years ago, he declared that he had the best defense under the heavens. At that time, there were no movements from Evil Sky Pavilion, and it seemed like the Evil Sky Pavilion's strength was waning. He wanted to seize the chance and defeat Ji Tiandao and level up to a 7-leaf avatar. However, on the plains of Jing Province, Hua Wudao and Ji Tiandao had only exchanged one blow that ended in Hua Wudao's humiliating defeat. After all, at that time, Ji Tiandao was already an 8-leaf cultivator. Since that day, Hua Wudao became a laughingstock among the people on the noble path. This became a knot in Hua Wudao's heart, causing his cultivation base to stagnate in the past 20 years. With a calm demeanor, Lu Zhou inquired, "Where's Hua Wudao now?" Ding Fanqiu respectfully replied, "Elder Hua went to the Green Jade Altar 3 days ago. It's said that he has gone there to discuss an alliance to defeat the Evil Sky Pavilion. He knows about the matter regarding the palace fishing up bones from the river more than I do." Upon hearing this, Lu Zhou remembered the letter he received from Jian Aijian a few days ago. I think Jian Aijian's letter mentioned that the Fiend Temple Master seemed to have gone to the Green Jade Altar as well. These people are planning to gang up on the Evil Sky Pavilion? Since they want to deal with me, I should just head to the Green Jade Altar directly. Ming Shirin's face changed slightly at the side. Master, the Green Jade Altar is the righteous sect's territory. I'm afraid. Lu Zhou understood. Before Ming Shirin entered nascent divinity tribulation realm, he ran into Zhang Qiuqiu, an elite from the righteous sect, when he was roaming the lands and causing trouble. He was defeated and he had been traumatized by that incident since then. However, his trauma was not as severe as Yun Sek's Hua Wudao's trauma, which created a knot in his heart and caused his cultivation base to stagnate. He then proceeded to ask, "Are you afraid?" Ming Shirin straightened up and replied, "Why would I be afraid?" At the side, Duan Mushing chuckled. "Junior brother, this is a great opportunity." Based on their perception regarding cultivation, Ming Shirin was in fact more talented than Duan Musheng. Duan Musheng joined the pavilion much earlier than Ming Shirin. However, Duan Musheng is currently not much stronger than Ming Shirin. Ming Shirin had too many distracting thoughts and his intentions were not pure, therefore his avatar did not sprout any leaves ever since he entered the nascent divinity tribulation realm. Although they are both in nascent divinity tribulation realm, if one's avatar has no leaves, then he is not regarded as a genuine cultivator in the nascent divinity tribulation realm. With the addition of every leaf, a cultivator's strength would improve dramatically. Xia Yuaner voiced out to remind her master. There's also Zhang Yuanshan. You should kill him. I can't stand that man for cursing you every single day. Recalling Zhang Yuanshan's demeanor, Lu Zhou said, he is indeed despicable. He was the one who led the second attack on Jingting Mountain. That person is extremely cunning. Zhang Yuanshan is somehow involved in this secret meeting at the Green Jade Altar. Lu Zhou continued to ask, one more thing. Do you know who's behind the destruction of Fish Dragon Village? Ding Fanqiu was stunned for a few seconds upon hearing the question. Weren't you the one who destroyed the village, old senior? This information was given to me by the insect. They even sent someone to investigate the palace. In the end, we confirmed that the culprit of the Fish Dragon Village's destruction was none other than the old man standing before me. Lu Zhou stroked his beard, but did not ask further. I have asked everything that I can. It's clear that Ding Fanqiu does not know who the mastermind behind all this is. If they're capable of keeping these things a secret for a decade, they're definitely not ordinary people. Having reached this conclusion, he ordered Ming Shirin to take Ding Fanqiu away. Xia Yuaner pointed at the two imposters. What about them? Ming Shirin chuckled. It's alright to impersonate me, but it'll be difficult for you to escape death after defaming my master. So, do we kill them? I agree to have them killed. Cut them in half. That's the best way. I don't think that's enough. Let's cut them into 8 pieces. Some elite cultivators are especially cunning. They'll only die when you've cut them up thoroughly. The three of them began discussing what to do with the imposters. The two imposters were frightened to the point of nearly wetting themselves. After all these years, we have only been impersonating their appearances. We had failed to master the essence of these villains. Ding Fanqiu, having regained his senses, pleaded with a sullen face. Impersonating the evil Sky Pavilion is my sin alone. Please let them go, senior. Ming Shirin chuckled. I see that you're willing to take responsibility for your actions. Alas, even if my master spares them, do you think they can continue living? They're already affected by the witchcraft formation. Their cultivation bases will deteriorate sooner or later. This spell is very difficult to break, unless you're thinking of begging my master for help. Hearing this, Ding Fanqiu's heart sank. He stuttered and did not say anything else. At this point, a messenger bird flew in. Xia Yuaner quickly grabbed it and said, Master, it's a letter from that shameless guy again. At Lu Zhou's indication, she began to read the letter. Old senior, you told me to investigate the Fish Dragon Village, but this will take time. However, I can provide you with the latest information. It's best if you don't go to the Green Jade Altar. The evil king, your 8th disciple, is lying in wait outside the Green Jade Altar. Finally, how amazing is the sword that you promised me? Upon hearing the contents of the letter, Ming Shirin snorted in anger. I think old 8th didn't have enough last time. How dare he think of attacking master with his cultivation base? That deceiving scum, who betrayed his master in sect. I'll head over there and skin him alive right now. Lu Zhou shook his head after hearing this. Old 8th has always been one to bully the weak and fear the strong. With his abilities, I don't think he's bold enough to try and ambush me. Duan Mushing was somewhat curious. Then, what is he doing, lying in wait at the Green Jade Altar? Ming Shirin began to analyze. The righteous sect has always regarded itself as a member of the noble path. Although old 8th has left the evil Sky Pavilion, the noble path won't share the same opinion. The Nether sect, the Crouching Dragon Dark Net, and even old 8th's Tiger Ridge gang are their targets. I think old 8th is trying to get revenge with this opportunity. You have a point, but I still think that old 8th doesn't have the balls for this. 7th junior brother must be the one behind this. At this point, Lu Zhou asked, how powerful is old 8th's organization? Ming Shirin promptly answered, old 8th's personal strength is nothing much to speak of, but he has a group of trusted subordinates who listen to him. They're everywhere in the streets. Lu Zhou shook his head and turned to Bayan. All of you, come with me to the Green Jade Altar. Upon hearing their master's command, the three of them answered in unison, yes, master.